You handed out the envelopes at school, and by lunch, the whole class knew. Golden arches on the front, McDonald's birthday party. The kids who got one ran home screaming. The kids who did not went quiet. That envelope was the most powerful thing a 7-year-old could hold because it meant you were chosen. You were going to the party. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. $50. That is what it cost in the 1980s to throw a complete birthday party at McDonald's. 10 Happy Meals, a sheet cake with Ronald and Grimace on it, and your child's name in icing. Ice cream cups, red and yellow balloons, cardboard crowns with McDonaldland characters printed on them, placemats with puzzles and coloring pages, goodie bags for every kid, a party host who set everything up and served the food and ran the games and cleaned it all up when it was over, and a reserved table with a little sign on it that said "Reserved," and your kid sat at the head of that table wearing a paper crown. For 2 hours, that table belonged to them. That was the deal. $50, and your child was royalty for an afternoon in a place where every other kid in America wanted to be. And the kids who were invited knew they were special. They carried that invitation around all week. They showed it to kids who did not get one. Not to be cruel, they were 7, and they did not understand cruelty yet. They were just proud. They were going to McDonald's for a birthday party, and that meant Happy Meals and cake, and the PlayPlace, and maybe the ball pit, and maybe Ronald himself. The kid who invited them was now the most important person in their world until Saturday. Monday morning after the party, the whole class heard about it. Who was there? What toys were in the Happy Meals? Who went in the ball pit first? Who got to go on the kitchen tour? That party lived in the hallways of that school for a week, and every kid who missed it swore they would go to the next one even if they had to beg. You have to understand what that meant for families who did not have money. A birthday party at your house meant cleaning a house that was too small, borrowing folding chairs from the neighbors, making a cake from a Duncan Hines box, and hoping enough kids showed up to fill the living room so it did not look empty. A party at the bowling alley was $15 a kid. A party at the skating rink was $12. The arcade was $20. For a family with 3 children and a mortgage and a car payment and groceries that cost more every month, those numbers meant one kid got a real party and the other 2 got cake at the kitchen table after dinner. But McDonald's was $50. Total, not per kid, for everything. The food, the cake, the decorations, the entertainment, the cleanup, the reserved table, the crown, the goodie bags. A working mother could walk in with nothing but her purse and walk out 2 hours later with a child who believed they had just had the greatest birthday party in the history of birthdays. And she did not have to cook. She did not have to decorate. She did not have to sweep the floor at midnight while her husband slept, her kids were in bed, and the house smelled like frosting and spilled soda. McDonald's did all of it for $50. That was not a fast food restaurant being cheap. That was a fast food restaurant understanding something about American families that no other company in the country understood. The parents who could afford the least loved their children exactly as much as the parents who could afford the most, and those parents deserve to see their kid's face light up on their birthday too. McDonald's gave them that for the price of a tank of gas. The PlayPlace was the kingdom. You remember the PlayPlace? Not the sad empty room with a single screen that some McDonald's have now. The real PlayPlace. The one from the 1980s and early 1990s with the giant climbing structures shaped like McDonaldland characters. Officer Big Mac was a tower of metal bars that rose 3 stories high, and it got so hot in the summer that you burned your hands climbing it and you did not care. The Fry Guy merry-go-round was so heavy, it took 4 kids pushing to get it started. And once it was spinning, nobody could stop it. The grimace, bounce, and bend was a purple cage with springy bars you could launch yourself off of, and you landed on what was technically a mat, but was really just a thin piece of foam on concrete. The Hamburglar swing, the Mayor McCheese roundabout, and Ronald himself sat on a bench, his arm out, as if he was waiting for you to sit next to him. Every kid sat next to Ronald, and someone took a picture, and that picture is in a shoebox somewhere in your house right now. And then there was the ball pit. Hundreds of colored plastic balls in a pit that you jumped into and disappeared. You sank to the bottom and came up laughing with a ball in each hand. Your shoes gone, your socks filthy, and you did not care because you were 6 years old and you were swimming in plastic balls at your best friend's birthday party, and nothing in your life had ever been this good. Was it clean? No. Was it safe? Probably not. Did any parent in 1988 think about bacteria when their child launched themselves face first into a pit of plastic balls in a McDonald's on a Saturday afternoon? Not one, not a single one, because the sound coming out of that ball pit was the sound of pure, unfiltered childhood joy, and no parent on earth was going to interrupt that. By 1991, McDonald's had 3,000 PlayPlaces in the United States. 3,000. That made them the single largest playground operator in America. Not a parks department, not a school district, a hamburger restaurant. One location in Grand Rapids, Michigan was hosting 300 birthday parties every single month. 300! Think about that. 300 families walking through those doors every month to celebrate their child's birthday in a restaurant that sold cheeseburgers for 89 cents. That is not a business strategy. That is a community center with a drive-through. The birthday kid got things the other kids did not. That was the whole point. The birthday kid wore the special crown. The birthday kid sat at the head of the table. The birthday kid blew out the candles on the cake that had their name on it. And the birthday kid got to do the one thing that every other child in the restaurant would have traded their Happy Meal toy for: the kitchen tour. The birthday child was taken behind the counter and into the kitchen, and they got to see where the food was made. The fryers, the grills, the warming trays, the drink machines, and they got to choose one friend to come with them. One! Do you understand what that meant in the social hierarchy of a second grade classroom? The birthday kid pointed at one child and said, "You," and that child walked through a door that no other kid was allowed through, and they stood in the kitchen of a McDonald's and watched someone make French fries, and it was the most important moment of their entire year. Kids talked about who got chosen for the kitchen tour for weeks, not days, weeks. Alliances were formed over that kitchen tour. Friendships were tested. Some kids never got over not being picked. That one moment behind the counter of a McDonald's shaped more playground politics than anything any teacher ever did. Some locations had Ronald McDonald in person, not a picture, not a statue. A man in a costume with the red hair and the painted smile and the big shoes walked into that party room, and he knew your child's name. He said, "Happy birthday." He handed them a present, and your kid looked at him with eyes so wide you could see the reflection of the balloons, because at 6 years old, Ronald McDonald was real. He was as real as Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy, and he was standing there saying your name. That was worth more than any toy in any Happy Meal. That was magic, and the parent who paid $50 for that party got to watch their child believe in something wonderful for one more year. That is what $50 bought you. Not food, not decorations, belief, and the party host. People forget the party host. A teenage girl or a young woman in a McDonald's uniform was assigned to your party, and she did everything. She set up the table, she blew up the balloons, she laid out the crowns and the placemats and the goodie bags, she took the orders, brought the food, cut the cake, and served the ice cream. She organized the games, pinned the arms on Grimace, treasure hunts through the restaurant, who can build the tallest stack of McNugget boxes. She kept 10 children entertained for 2 hours while the parents sat and talked and drank coffee, and for the first time in months did not have to supervise anything. That woman was not paid enough. She was never paid enough. But the kids remembered her. Some of them remembered her name. She was part of the birthday, and she did not know that 30 years later, a grown man would tell his own children about the nice lady at McDonald's who made his 7th birthday the best day of his life. In 1987, McDonald's even produced an exclusive 8-minute animated film that was shown only at birthday parties. You could not see it on television. You could not rent it. The only way to watch it was to be at a McDonald's birthday party. That made every kid who was there feel like they were part of something special, and every kid who was not there feel like they had missed the most important event of the year. McDonald's understood that the value of a birthday party was not in what was on the table, it was in who was not in the room. Exclusivity for $50 for working class families. That was genius. That was McDonald's at its absolute best. Not selling hamburgers. Selling the feeling that your family was just as good as any other family in town. And then it went away. Not all at once. Slowly. The way everything good disappears. First, the PlayPlace equipment started getting replaced. The Officer Big Mac climber came down. The Fry Guy merry-go-round was unbolted from the floor. The ball pit was drained, and the balls were thrown in garbage bags, and the pit was filled with tables or nothing at all. In 1999, McDonald's settled with the Consumer Product Safety Commission over playground injuries. The equipment was deemed too dangerous, too hot, too high, too many lawsuits. So it was removed and replaced with enclosed plastic tube systems that were safer and smaller and had none of the personality that made the originals feel like a world that belonged to children. Then the tube systems started disappearing too. COVID closed every indoor play area in 2020, and most of them never reopened. The party rooms were converted to seating or storage or self-order kiosk stations. The reserved table signs vanished. The party hosts were no longer offered. Ronald was retired in 2016. After years of creepy clown sightings across America and a growing cultural discomfort with costume characters approaching children, McDonald's quietly pulled Ronald from public appearances. No announcement, no farewell. He simply stopped showing up. The man who had been the face of the company since 1963 and who had made 1 million children believe in birthday magic was gone. The playground was gone. The ball pit was gone. The party room was gone. Ronald was gone. What was left was a building that sold hamburgers and had a screen on the wall and a mobile app for ordering and a kiosk that did not know your child's name and did not care that it was their birthday. If you walk into a McDonald's today and ask about a birthday party, they will tell you some locations still offer them. And that is technically true. You can pay somewhere between $55 and $150 for a package that includes Happy Meals and decorations, but there is no PlayPlace, there is no ball pit, there is no Ronald, there is no kitchen tour, there is no 8-minute animated film, there is no party host running games, there is no Officer Big Mac 3 stories high with metal bars glowing in the afternoon sun. There is a table and food, and a room that looks like every other room in every other McDonald's in the country. The magic is not there anymore. Not because McDonald's took it away on purpose, but because the world decided that ball pits were unsanitary and playgrounds were liabilities and clowns were creepy and children should be looking at screens instead of climbing on giant purple characters named Grimace. The world decided that $50 of magic was not worth the risk, and maybe the world was right. But the kids who had those parties do not remember the bacteria. They remember the crown. McDonald's knows what it lost. In 2023, they released the Grimace birthday shake and built the entire campaign around birthday party nostalgia. The chief marketing officer said our fans have amazing childhood memories of their birthdays at McDonald's. In 2024, they sold a merchandise collection with bomber jackets and t-shirts that said, "I had my birthday party at McDonald's." They made a commercial in the UK filmed like a 1980s birthday party with the decorations and the cake and the crowns. They know that the generation that grew up with those parties is now the generation spending money and raising children, and nothing in their childhood was more perfectly preserved in memory than the afternoon they sat at the head of a table in a McDonald's wearing a paper crown with their name on a cake, with 10 friends around them, a ball pit behind them, and a man in a red wig telling them happy birthday. McDonald's can sell you a milkshake that tastes like that memory. They cannot give you the memory back. But the thing nobody talks about is the parent. The mother who saved for 3 weeks to afford that $50. The father who worked a double shift so Saturday afternoon was free. The grandmother who drove 40 minutes because she was not missing this. They stood against the wall or sat at the next table over and they watched. They watched their kid blow out the candles, open the presents, dive into the ball pit, and come out screaming with joy. And they did not say, "Be careful." They did not say, "Slow down." They did not say, "We cannot afford this." They said nothing. They just watched. And they felt something they could not name, but it felt like they had done enough for one afternoon. For $50, they had given their child a memory that would outlast everything else they ever bought them. Every toy that broke, every shirt that was outgrown, every pair of shoes that wore out, gone. But that birthday party at McDonald's, that is still there 40 years later, perfectly preserved, in a shoebox full of photographs where a 7-year-old in a paper crown is sitting at the head of a table with a cake that has their name on it and 10 friends around them and a look on their face that says, "This is the best day of my entire life." If your kid had a birthday party at McDonald's, tell me what year it was. If you remember the PlayPlace, the ball pit, the crown, and the cake, tell me about it. If you were the parent who paid $50 and watched from the next table and you felt like you had given your child the world, I want to hear from you. And if you still have that photograph of your kid in that crown, go find it tonight. I read every single comment.